guys, it's a new year, and with new year comes new curriculum. Yes, we are crazy. We are those weird people that every January add a few new things to kind of spice up our homeschool and make it a little more exciting to come back after Christmas break. So today I'm going to share with you guys what some of the new curriculum is. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the new changes that we're making in our homeschool and a few things that we're going to be focusing on different this semester after what we learned last semester. So let's get started. First up, let's start with the youngest ones. So we have 6 kids and they're ranging from 6 years old all the way up to 15 years old. So starting with my 6 and 7-year-old, something new that they're going to be doing this year is going to be moving into CLE's Reading 1 program. They have been doing the Learning to Read program with my friend Wendy over at Plan Prep Pray and been excelling in that, doing phenomenal. And so they're officially moving into that Reading 1 phase. This is a little intimidating to me because there's a lot more reading at home that they have to do, but I know it's going to be great and they are definitely ready for it. They got books for Christmas and have been reading through those and setting their own timers to read over 20 minutes a day just on their own. So I know they're ready to dive into more. As far as additional changes to their homeschool, outside of growing and continuing and working through their CLE program with Wendy, they are also going to be adding in ASL. They have been wanting and dying to do American Sign Language, just like their older siblings have been doing for a little while now, but I've been kind of unsure where to go. Then I found out that Miss Thea, who teaches Homeschool ASL for my older teens, actually is revamping her elementary age program. And so it is going to be available very, very soon, a totally revamped version of her Homeschool ASL for elementary age. So they're excited to be able to jump in and to start working on ASL in our home so they can communicate with their older siblings, and because their older sister, who is in 6th grade, is also hard of hearing, and so it's something that can even be helpful in our home. The last change we're making for my littles is that we are really working on getting them into the habit of daily devotion time on their own. So one of the ways we start out with this is we initially teach them how to use the ESV Bible app. And so we have our kids get on the Bible app and they press the listen to button and they listen to 1 chapter of the Bible a day. We start out there, and once they get that habit and they understand kind of how to follow along and where the verse breaks are and chapter breaks and things like that, then I'm actually going to start introducing them to one of our favorite resources for younger learners to start establishing a personal devotion time. And that is utilizing the book Exploring the Bible by David Murray. This book really takes small chunks of scripture, just a couple verses each day, where your child is going to read and answer a few questions. There's also spaces to reflect for prayer, to work on Bible memory, and even to take sermon notes. So our plan is to start them out on the ESV Bible app and start that daily habit of setting aside that time in the Word, and then transition them into starting to use this book here in the next month or so that they can go through and develop that habit of time with God first thing in the morning. My 6th grader is next on the list. Now, my 6th grader has special needs, significant special needs, and so she actually is doing a lot more work that is geared in that 1st, 2nd grade level, and so things look a little bit different when it comes to her needs. And my goal is to always help her in whatever way I can. So a couple of things that we will be doing differently this year is we want to try to insert some more game schooling. I have tried this multiple times and have failed miserably, but my friend Jessica from Waldock Way actually just recently did a workshop in my community made to homeschool, and it was a phenomenal workshop talking about how you could practically incorporate games into your homeschool without being overwhelming. It was a great workshop, and if you guys want to catch the replay of it, check out my community made to homeschool down in the description below. You guys can go there and watch that workshop as well as hundreds of other workshops that have been done in Made to Homeschool. But one of the things that she suggested was actually, instead of making a whole separate day just for game schooling, is to work a rotation in where 1 day a week for each subject, you switch out the regular curriculum for a game. So what that would mean is on Monday, instead of doing your math book, you're going to do a board game, but every other subject you're going to still do your other curriculum. Then on Tuesday, you're going to go back to your math book, but for history, maybe you're going to do a history game. So I kind of like this rotation. You're playing one game a day. It's not overwhelming. It's not too much, but it kind of gives them a lot more practice, because when we play games with our kids, they do learn things faster and easier. There's lots of opportunity for repetition in a way that doesn't feel repetitive to our kids. So we're going to kind of work on that. I don't know if we'll do it every single day, but I'd love to shoot for like 3 out of 5 days that we incorporate some games, especially when it comes to math and language arts. We're also taking a little bit more aggressive approach in getting back into several of my daughter's physical therapy exercises. She is on an at-home program right now, and over this last semester, we've just done really poorly at keeping up with those exercises. So we're going to be really intentional in including that. She has a binder that has all of her different subjects in there, or at least most of her different subjects, and we just sequentially go through that notebook. So you open up that notebook and you've got her Bible memory work. So we work on that, and then we flip to the next tab and it's like, okay, now we're going to work on this subject and then this subject. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a tab and put her handouts for her physical therapy exercises in the binder. So it's just part of our sequential thing. We know we're not done with school till we get through every tab in that binder. And so I think I'm just going to add that in there as a way to just sort of build it back into our routine, because it's going to take some intentionality, because they're not fun exercises, but they're very much needed. The last thing we're kind of changing up for her specifically, or working on, is something we're actually working through in one of her therapies that she is doing. And that is working on listening well. She has ADHD, and just like many of us, myself included with ADHD, the urgency and the desire to just interrupt or kind of finish what you think people are going to say and blurt out something before they've had the opportunity to finish is a very strong urge. And it's something that really needs to be worked on and intentionally taught. And so it's something that we are really focusing on this semester, as well as going to God for wisdom. Whenever we're going through hard things, or whenever we're going through challenging situations, we're wanting to go and point her to Christ to seek that wisdom. She has a lot of great coping skills, a lot of great things that are helpful, but sometimes there can be a reliance more on the coping skills or the systems or the charts or the whatever than going to Christ. And we want to use both of those together to help her succeed and not have her rely too heavily on just the systems in place. So because of that, we are actually incorporating into her therapy time the book Get Wisdom. This book is actually written by a friend of ours, Natalie Weber, and it is a workbook that you can get on Amazon to work with your kids on going through the book of Proverbs. The way that we are utilizing it to help teach her to listen well as to go to God for wisdom is that we are reading the different verses out loud and then asking her the questions. She's going through and reading the questions and writing down the answers to the specific questions. But we're being really nitpicky on the exact wording and making sure that she gets exactly what the Bible says. She writes it down, and she doesn't just like kind of interpret it differently. And that's mostly to help with just the listening, to being really intentional, to being really careful and thoughtful, to make sure she's retaining what she's listening. It's just one of many things that we're working on in this area, but it was something that I thought I would share in case that is a struggle anyone else is going through, or even if you're not going through that, you could check out this book, because this is a great resource for your elementary age kids, or any age actually, to go through the book of Proverbs and to learn from God's wisdom. For my teens, not a ton is changing. They are continuing a lot of the curriculums they've been doing thus far, but a few changes is that one of my older sons has taken up an interest in possibly creating a YouTube channel. And they know that the rule in our house is if you want to consider having a YouTube channel, you have to first go through the YouTube for Teens course by Homeschool for Teens. This is a course that my oldest son went through several years ago, actually, that was absolutely phenomenal in walking your kids through the practical application of having a YouTube channel, taking them through the different steps, making sure that this excitement that they have or these grand ideas actually come to fruition, and make sure that they've thought through all of the different elements. I've done an entire video about this course that you can see more about. I'll link it down in the description below, but this is a phenomenal video-based course, and it has hands-on learning opportunities. After going through this course, my oldest son really enjoyed it, learned a lot, and ultimately decided at that point in season in life, it wasn't the right time for him to start a YouTube channel, which to me is massively successful, because he learned a lot in case he ever wants to, but he also had the discernment to know that before he jumped into it. For my second son now, he is very interested, and I think he actually is something he probably will end up doing. So him being able to go through this course and to be able to learn these important skills is absolutely critical. So he has decided to add this in this semester, and it will count for a credit for high school as well. Speaking of film school for teens, this company actually has a lot of different courses out there for teens, and one of the ones that they just came out with is their Life Skills 101 course. My daughter and I think my oldest son as well are both going to be going through this Life Skills 101 course. It takes them through all sorts of life skills, like being able to do kitchen skills, right? Cooking, basic things like that, but also things like budgeting, goal setting, and more. This, I think I'm going to have my oldest son do this, even though this is not something he's initially massively interested in, but he is thinking more about the future as he's going to be a sophomore in the fall, and is just really starting to be like, Mom, maybe I should learn how to cook a few things because eating out is going to be pretty expensive. Or, what, Mom, how do you afford this? Or how do you do that? So I think this is going to be a great introduction for him, getting into those life skills and giving them a wide variety, sort of a taste of several different topics. Again, it's video-based and has hands-on activities. So I'm excited to share more about that as they get into that course, and I'll have a separate review video out there. But if you want to check out either one of those courses, be sure to check out the link down below. One other thing that I am still trying to kind of figure out is my oldest son did start a car class that is been really fantastic last semester, but honestly, we kind of fell off a little bit because he was really struggling with the testing element. He was retaining the material, but the actual written tests in the curriculum were quite challenging. He has auditory processing, so being able to get and catch some of the small wording changes were a challenge. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to continue with that car class and just forego the tests and make up my own tests that are do more of an oral narration for him with his dyslexia and other special needs that he has, or if I do want to still stick with having him do the physical written tests, but maybe walk alongside him a little bit more, make sure he's understanding. I'm not sure. So if you have been there with a child in high school, I want to make sure that everything I'm having him do meets standards and requirements. And while our personal state does not have a lot of standards or requirements, I want to make sure it works across the board for anything he's going to need in the future. So if you've had a child who has severe dyslexia, auditory processing, autism, any of those things, how have you adapted or changed certain things when it comes to testing requirements for specific subjects? This is a really important subject for him to learn because this is something he would ideally like to do, is to go in and working on cars and possibly working in a garage. So I'm definitely going to have him continue the curriculum and keep going. I'm just trying to figure out if we should slow down to make sure he gets the testing right or let it go. So any thoughts, share them down below. And if you want to learn more about that Film School for Teens course, check out this video here.